What makes someone go from New Ager to devout Christian? That's actually a good question. And while I can't give you a blanket answer, I can tell you what happened to Alexandra as she went from New Ager to follower of Jesus in a matter of minutes. Listen to her story.
That day it completely changed my life. So I got invited. I got invited to this restaurant, and there was so much resistance from me in my spirit, and I couldn't tell you why. I just didn't want to go. Like, I kept making up excuses. I told my brother, because he was the one that invited me. I was like, I'm not gonna go. And then it was, oh well, maybe I'll take my car so I can leave. And we ended up taking his car together, so I couldn't leave. And when I was there, I was like, maybe I'll call my boyfriend so he can come pick me up. And just like little things, that there was something in me that was so irked about it. And it was definitely like the evil in me that didn't want any of that to happen. So my brother invited me to this restaurant, and we were seeing some family friends. I personally hadn't seen them in maybe like 6 years. They were the first people that we met when we came to Naples. So we're there, and I'm not talking to anybody. I mean, like mean face, like just arms crossed, don't want to talk to anybody. I go up to the host stand and start talking with them instead of talking with the people that I'm with. Like it, like just little things like that. And we finally get sat, and I'm like all the way at the end of the table. Don't want to sit next to anybody either. Like basically just, if I need a dash, I dash. And I'm gonna I'm gonna just give her a fake name because, whatever. But I'm gonna call her Patricia. Patricia, she's the mom and of like the family. And she comes up and she actually sits right next to me. And I'm like, great. This is like the last person I want to talk to right now. Because all I remembered from her was that she loves Jesus and she's super religious and whatever. Da, 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 and all she talks about is Jesus. And I'm laughing at it now because all I want to talk about now is Jesus. But everything's, pretty fine. I'm just trying to not make myself known. And this entire time, I'm not talking to anybody, but I feel like I'm about to have a panic attack. And that's something that I forgot to mention. But ever since I was like 13, up until that age, I was having constant panic attacks because of all the stress that I was putting myself under, all the emotional stress. So I feel like I'm about to have a panic attack. I start sweating, I start shaking, I'm like crying, and I can't tell you why. Nothing's wrong, nothing's going on. I'm just in distress. And I leave the table maybe 3 or 4 times to go to the bathroom just to just to feel like I can breathe. So crazy. And one time, like the last time I go back and sit at the table, I finally feel like I'm fine for the most part. And so Patricia next to me, she starts getting a vertigo attack. Like, I mean, like her head starts spinning, like she can't see type of thing. And this goes on for maybe 10 minutes at most. So I look at her, and my eyes are kind of already open to the spirit in a way. And I see this like red orb just right behind her head, right here. And looking back on it afterwards, I felt like something almost tried to transfer itself from me to her. Because as soon as I started feeling better, she started getting this vertigo attack, and it was completely a spiritual attack. And I get the urge to lay my hands on her and pray. I don't want to do it because I was like, what? Why am I gonna pray for like what? It was just weird in my head. I'm like, why do I suddenly feel the urge to like put my hands on her and pray? So I'm like not moving. I feel so awkward. And so I'm finally like, okay, you know what? I'll just do it. I'll just do it. Whatever. And I did it. And after I laid my hands on her and I prayed, and I actually prayed to God. I prayed to Jesus. Um, it like a little bit after, maybe a minute after, she just smiles and it stops. It like dwindles down. I'm like, okay, what just happened? Like, let me take my hands off.
Right, because it was weird for you because you never prayed. The reason why you prayed to Jesus because your parents were kind of like a little bit Christian, your grandparents were Christian, but that
Yeah.
was not part of your life at that point. It's not like you were praying and this was just another time. This was like an isolated time where you prayed.
No.
So that's why it was so weird.
Yeah, and especially me like putting my hands on her, it just didn't feel comfortable to me. It didn't feel normal for me at that time. Um, and she smiles and she looks at my brother at that time is with his girlfriend, and they had never met. The girlfriend and Patricia, they had never met ever in their lives. She just looks at her and she's like, "You have a son, right?" And the girlfriend's like, "Yeah." What? How do you know that? And she's like, she gives her a prophetic message about her son. Okay, great. And then she turns to me and she's like, "But the biggest message I have is for you." And she says, "You know that Jesus loves you, right?" And sorry, I just start crying. It's like like literally somebody turned on a faucet, and I just start crying. And it's like at that time, like people had told me before, Jesus loves you, right? And like at that time, I was into the spirituality, so it shouldn't have made me react in the way that I did. But I'm just crying and I can't stop crying. It's like I'm crying the tears of all the years that I've held all these tears in. And I'm crying and I'm crying and she just hugs me. And it's like it's like the most heartwarming hug I've ever gotten in my life. Cause she just starts telling me like he's just waiting for you. He's been waiting for you for so long. Like he has his arms open for you. Like he just wants to hug you. And I'm bawling. Like bawling. And then she starts telling me stuff that's so specific to my life that she couldn't have possibly known. That like not even my brother knew, or that I know he didn't tell her these things. Like she just starts saying like she starts saying stuff by name, like, "Hey, like you haven't you haven't forgotten that guy in high school. Like you need to let him go." And you haven't let this go, and you haven't forgotten yourself for this, and all the depression and all the anxiety that's on you, like Jesus just wants to take it away. And I'm just like just waterfalls. And she was just completely speaking like it was just like Jesus was speaking through her. Jesus was completely using her in that moment to minister to me and just talk to me. And it was such a divine encounter that everybody's else's food came out except mine. Like everybody got their appetizers, mine didn't come out until way after her and I were done talking. Like like I was just sitting there with nothing in front of me, and the server didn't even notice. Like it wasn't like the server did it on purpose because they saw me crying. It just didn't happen. Um and she just, I mean, for like the 2 hours, 2.5, 3 hours that we're there, I'm crying the entire time because of everything she's telling me. Like just super specific, ministering to me, ministering, like basically telling me my whole life. I was like, okay, this is definitely Jesus. Like this was like, it completely changed my life. Because up until that point, I had tried so many things and nothing had worked. And then for something to make me feel so strongly with one sentence, I was like, in my heart, I knew that it was Jesus. And so that night happens. I mean, that was the best tasting meal of my life. I don't know what it was, but I that was the best night of my life. And so she tells me, she's like, "I have more to say to you, but I can't tell you all of it now. Do you mind if we get together and do some deliverance?" And at that point, I didn't know what deliverance was. I was just like, I was like, "I need to talk to you more." Like, something in me just wanted so much more of whatever she had, like, I'm just like, "Yes, whenever, yes."